Some of these forced birth states just seem like deplorable places for women and children. Just look at this current law being argued in Idaho. Idaho's parental consent law prohibits minors from accessing gRape kit exams without parents. Now, what could go wrong with this law? New law could become problematic if perpetrator of the child's SA is a family member, parent, or a close family friend. Like, what could go wrong if your perp is your dad or your stepdad? Like, what are these people thinking? Do they not have the forethought, the sense to think two steps ahead of why a child would be getting a gRape kit done? A parental rights bill intended to prohibit medical procedures on minors without parental consent could also end up unintentionally protecting sexual predators who abuse children. The new law, which went into effect July 1st, prohibits minors from getting SA exams or gRape kit exams without parental consent. This becomes problematic if the perpetrator of the child's SA is a parent, family friend, or close family friend, according to Deb Weatherelt, Idaho State Police SA nurse coordinator. Senate Bill 1329 passed during the 2024 legislative session on a party line vote in both chambers. Proponents of the bill argued that parents should be involved in their children's medical care. The bill allows for medical care without parental consent only if it's in order to prevent death or imminent irreparable physical injury. Idaho Governor Brad Little signed the bill in March, but issued a transmittal letter citing concerns about access to behavioral health and conflicting sections of the code. Weatherelt told Idaho Reports that prior to the law going into effect, any person 14 years or older could give informed consent for the exam. Many child SA victims know their perpetrators. SA kits, commonly called gRape kits, are exams done by trained nurse examiners after an assault has occurred. The exam involves combing and swabbing the victim's body for DNA evidence and photographing injuries and can take about 4 to 6 hours to complete. The exam's evidence can assist in both confirming a suspect and ruling out suspects in the assault. According to the gRape Abuse and Incest National Network, an estimated 93% of child SA perpetrators know their victims and 34% are family members. Weatherell hopes that in these situations, a parent would bring their child in and consent to the exam, but that hasn't always been her experience. She offered the example of a child claiming a step-parent, their mother's boyfriend, had abused them. A step parent or their mother's boyfriend had abused them. So, what I'm going to do as a nurse, if a child comes in and says, my stepdad did this to me, and mom says she's a liar, she's been nothing but a liar since she's 8 years old, this is not true, he would never do that, and I will tell you that happens all too often as well. That doesn't mean the state can't intervene. At that point, I'm calling law enforcement, who will initiate a call to CPS and do an assessment. But CPS assessments take time. The forensic lab will take evidence up to 5 days after the alleged abuse occurs. If the child reports the abuse 2 days after it happens, that limits the SANE's nurse time to get an agreement in place to do the exam. Weatherell explained. Even after 5 days, once CPS or the court grants permission, a SANE nurse can look for injuries and test the child for STDs or pregnancies. But by that point, most, if not all, DNA evidence will be gone. The bigger piece of that, and for these children especially, is that the emotional and mental well-being. What's going to happen to that kiddo when she goes home? Mom calls her a liar and says, now you got the cops involved. Now CPS is coming to the house. Are you happy? Now those are the things that I worry about. The lead sponsor of the bill, Senate Majority Leader Kelly Anthony, Republican from Burley, said in an August 2nd email to Idaho Reports that this was not the intent of the bill. So this man right here is Kelly Anthony, Republican from Burley. It was certainly not the intent of the law to limit police investigation of these kinds of crimes. I will be happy to look at the language of the statute to see if Change is needed. To my knowledge, no one from the Idaho State Police has contacted me on this matter. Anthony says he plans to reach out to ISP. So even though she says that the child may be in danger at home, he's talking about a police investigation, not the well-being of the child once she goes back home because she had to call a parent. The Senate Minority Leader Melissa Winthrow, Democrat from Boise, voted against this bill. She did not know if sponsors were aware of this effect when they proposed this bill introduction. Now, this is a woman. She knows and understands probably a little bit better than this person, Kelly, who is not thinking about the well-being of the child that might be impacted. She says, I was begging people to not pass that bill because not all parents have the best intentions in mind, Wintrow told Idaho Reports. You have to have an escape hatch for youth and their health. Wintrow says she had concerns that those who brought the legislation didn't speak with stakeholders thoroughly. It is our responsibility to see how it will impact everyone, Wintrow said about the proposed legislation. In committee, I didn't see any stakeholders support it. Idaho Reports reached out to the governor's office multiple times for comment and did not receive a response by Monday afternoon. This is terrible. Like these people, so many men get to create legislation without thinking about how it will impact other folks. I don't know what to say. I really feel such rage for the women and girls that are stuck living in these forced birther states. You guys can go ahead and weigh in and let me know what you think. The juxtaposition of what happened when JD Vance was announced as Trump's VP pick and what is happening with Mr. Walz and how he is being shown is just phenomenal. It's like worlds apart. JD Vance and all of his commentary about single cat ladies ruining America and how people should have to stay with abusive marriages simply for the children to be raised with two parents. And then we got in the couch situation. I know that is probably not true, but it's still funny. Anyways, but this situation with Mr. Walz and what's coming out about him being a high school teacher and a coach and he loves little pet pigs, it's just been so remarkably different. So here's an article from the BBC. It says, he's the new VP pick. To his students, he's Mr. Walz. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz could be America's next VP. Nobody is more enthusiastic about it than former students in his small town Midwest classroom. At Mankato High School, years before he joined the political scene, a young Mr. Walz taught geography and social studies, supervised the lunchroom, and coached the football team. The Harris campaign has sought to highlight Mr. Walz's career as a teacher, even though he served 6 terms in Congress before he returned to Minnesota to run for governor, a position he's held since 2018. Those who knew him back then told the BBC that his teaching history is a guide to the politician he has become and the VP he could be. It's so wild that he has such a distinct resume, such a full resume, and his resume is much fuller than Trump's and JD Vance's put together. It was 1999, and Jacob Rattan, the first openly gay student at Mankato West, was part of an effort to form the first gay-straight alliance at the school. GSA's student-run organization focused on supporting LGBTQ youth, emerged across the country through the 90s. Mr. Rattan still remembers the bullying he faced back then, from homophobic insult spray painted on his driveway to a smashed-in car window in the school parking lot. But he told the BBC the Walzes promoted inclusion, kindness, and jointly made the school a place where it was safe to come out. And because the new GSA required a faculty advisor, Coach Walz stepped up. It really needed to be the football coach who was the soldier and was straight and was married, he said in a 2018 interview, explaining why he took the role. Mr. Walz remained a firm supporter of same-sex rights, and in 2011, Mr. Rattan stood by the then congressman's side as President Barack Obama signed his bill repealing the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy for gay and lesbian Americans serving in the military into law. He's so perfect as an addition to the Harris ticket, Mr. Rattan said, introducing him on Tuesday at their first joint campaign event. Ms. Harris lavished more praise on Coach Walz than on Governor Walz, his current title. Tim Walz was the kind of teacher and mentor that every child in America dreams of having and that every kid deserves, she said. He's the kind of person who makes them feel like they belong and then inspires them to dream big. That's the kind of VP he will be. The Trump campaign has assailed Mr. Walz as a dangerously liberal extremist who, along with Ms. Harris, forms a ticket that they say is far too left for most Americans to stomach. Everything so far that I've seen about Tim Walz has been quite heartening. I like his resume. I like that he has experience with the public. I like that he already has that built in political experience, so he'll know how to navigate. Now we come to JD Vance. And I know I've talked about JD Vance, but this particular stunt had me laughing. And this Daily Beast article had me chuckling because, okay, it says JD Vance awkwardly retreats after bizarre attempt to storm Harris's empty plane. And then it says right here, no, not weird. So we're leaning into the hashtag weird AF label that they are giving to Republicans. And yes, he's definitely weird, so he deserves it. JD Vance briskly marched up to Air Force Two, Kamala Harris's plane, planning to give political reporters a show as he confronted the vice president uninvited on Wednesday. His power play dreams, like most of his chaotic Veep run, were immediately thwarted once he realized Harris was not present. I just want to check out my future plane, Vance told campaign reporters gathered on the tarmac on Wednesday. I'm sorry, in Wisconsin. I don't know where I got on Wednesday. He didn't get a chance to face Harris, but said he wanted to go say hello to the VP and ask her why does she refuse to answer questions. It's unclear what Vance was referring to, as Harris has repeatedly pressed for Donald Trump to attend the September 10th debate that he had already agreed to appear at when he was running against President Joe Biden. Vance told a Philadelphia rally on Tuesday that he would absolutely want to debate Minnesota Governor Tim Walz if given a chance, roughly 40 minutes after the Ohio senator stormed over to confront his invisible opponent. The Harris campaign released a video set to a popular TikTok audio seemingly intended to make fun of him. That was probably the one where he's repeatedly saying, "I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I'm a never Trump guy." Have you heard that audio? Please comment if you've heard the audio. It's amazing. Harris and Vance are hosting dueling campaign stops throughout this week as he follows her across the country in a not at all weird way. I just really find the two of them, not Harris, JD Vance and Tim Walz, are on completely different spectrums, just like Harris and Trump. Just completely different. We got a convict versus a felon. We got a really weird dude and this seemingly nice uncle character as far as Walz goes. This is going to be a very interesting election season, and I want to know your thoughts. Go ahead and weigh in. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.